Okay, hello everyone and welcome to Ms. Stomber's virtual lesson today. We're going to be learning about surrealism and how we are going to make a surreal digital landscape. But my first question is, how can we create a dream world? What is a dream world? Have you ever had a really bizarre dream or a fantasy place that you wanted to escape to? We're going to explore how images influence our view of the world and how this can also inform something like a dream world. So some of the questions we're going to explore as we learn this unit is, what is an image? Where and how do we encounter images? And how do images influence our view of the world? This is our heavy hitter question because we really want to investigate today how images in our world that surround us constantly actually help us create our perception of the world. How do we view it? So moving on, we're going to do a quick review on foreground, middle ground, and background in order to show a landscape that portrays space. We know that in the foreground, this is the image that is closest to us. It's the most detailed, it's the most richly saturated imagery, and it's usually darker in value. Now the foreground overlaps the middle ground, and the middle ground overlaps the background. As you can see, the color or the value recedes into the space, creating atmospheric perspective. So if you had to arrange and overlap these images based on what we know of foreground, middle ground, and background, how would you arrange these images? What image would go in the foreground? What image would go in the middle ground? And what image would go in the background? Most importantly, why? I want to know that you understand this information. So make sure you take a moment now to answer these questions and to submit it to me using chat for credit. This is a quick activity. It shouldn't take too long, so make sure you submit your answers. We're going to be moving on in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and into our lesson. So what is surrealism? Surrealism is an art movement that happened in the early 1900s. It spanned across the 20th century, and it actually exists well until today. The main thing I want to teach you about surrealism today is that it's characterized by breaking away from reality. It creates dreamlike visuals. There's lots of symbolism, and collage is actually a technique that's commonly used in surrealism. Surrealism also manipulates imagery and our perception by distorting everyday imagery that we see, such as the clocks in this Dali painting, and extorting it, making it unrealistic, exaggerated, and it ultimately creates a perceptual play on reality. So surrealism uses imagery that we see every single day and distorts it. This is how it creates a perceptual effect. Here are some traditional and contemporary examples of surreal landscapes. And if we look closely at these two images, how does surrealism distort the images to question or influence our view of the world? What do you see that is distorted or surreal in these images? And despite the time difference, 1948 to 2020, they actually both use something similarly, which is very interesting. Perhaps it has something to do with symbolism. Perhaps it has something to do with Salvador Dali's interest. Let's see. So moving on, how does surrealism make the ordinary look extraordinary? We have a play on scale. Sometimes they make things that float. There's juxtaposition, which means contrast. It's two images that do not belong together. Dislocation, transparency, and transformation. So we have a lot of plays on images in order to change our view of the world. So now let's see, how can we start making our own surreal landscape? We know we have knowledge of foreground, middle ground, and background. That will be important to create atmospheric perspective. Secondly, we know how to make the landscape surreal by manipulating an image. Perhaps we play with scale or juxtaposition. Maybe we make something levitate that normally shouldn't. So let's start in Art Studio. We're going to go to our home button. Let's go over to our settings and make sure that our Bluetooth is connected to our Apple Pencil.